bravo. A couple little things. If you just play the first line for me again. And it may be that you're a little nervous in front of all of us today. You're playing much louder than we would want you to, again, if we were behind. So, you know, I mean, I'd have to have no coffee for days to play soft and that kind of thing. But, you know, as close as you can keep that stick to the head, the softer you'll play. Yeah. So, you know, you were coming off quite high. Yeah. Okay. If you can, if you're not too nervous, just try to keep it a little bit lower this time. And just, you know, you could take it a little slower if you want to. And then the other thing is, let's let it dance a little bit. So if I sang it to you, jump. See, so I'm kind of making a musical line a little bit more out of that. See if you can do those two things, okay? Okay, that's good, Nick. And would you just start maybe on the second beat and just lay your sticks on the head for a while? Okay, now come up. When you come up, that's perfect. Now just go. Sup, bum, bum. There you go. That's much better. The other thing, like in measure 31 right there, it's real easy to maybe rush a rest or something like that, just a little bit. Yeah. And also where we all rush and drag as drummers is, especially if the conductor is conducting, is at the end of a roll. Because it's so hard to place that roll, you know, right on, especially if the conductor wants to take a little more time and then, you know, it gets a little apart from the ensemble because you're on the wrong stick or something. So, you know, think about that when you're playing with a metronome, so you just know that it's, you know, every little note's going to come up. And again, you have great basic time. Other thing that happens sometimes is every once in a while on one of the triplets, it would be just not exactly a triplet when, and you know. Yeah. But you know, again, I think it was much better, and you were much relaxed quickly, so you take direction very well about improving little things like that. And you know, us drummers, just like anybody else, we're lazy. So where do we practice? We practice comfortably. What's comfortable? Mezzo forte to forte. So when we go play for that symphony, you know, oh, you can't be as loud as a violin. What do you mean? Drums louder than a violin. Everybody knows that. But you can't, you know. You just got to play soft. So what we have to work on as percussionists is, you know, I might just say, okay, for the next week we're just going to play this etude and never go up above a pianissimo. Because if you practice soft, you'll learn to play soft. But that's what we don't do as percussionists, because it's not fun to play soft. As a soloist, it's not even musical to play soft. But behind that orchestra, or the Navy band, or the Army band, whichever band happens to have an audition that the year that you're looking for jobs, you know, they're looking for that kind of control. Just to keep yourself as soft as you can. And you know, there's little tricks. When I was in the orchestra, I did very little coffee, and if it was a really soft exposed part, I'd take an Inderall or something like that. That would control the softs on snare drum. The rest of the time, I wouldn't have problems. But you know, sometimes that drum would come up, and I'd walk up, and I'd be just like this, trying to play with you know, some of those guys. So yeah, that was a nightmare for me a few times in my career. So wow. But it's just part of the business. I think especially for drum set players, you know, where you're sitting here playing, and then the next night you got to go and do this completely different discipline, and that's when it can get really hard to do that, because we're just used to playing loud.
It's actually the opposite with him. He's used to doing this, and so when he gets behind the set,
he's timid.
I got to say, Nick, you know, get lower, you know, more wrist.
Yeah, well, I see.
Yeah, he tries to use the correct technique as much as he.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's so many styles, of course, that you can watch people play.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you can be a good player no matter what style you use.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'll tell you, you know, you can use a little more arm here, or a little more shoulder, or things that are relaxed. But I don't really tell people too much about that because I've seen so many good players do so many different ways. You know, it's really more what you're thinking. You know,
I've probably played with a bunch of your students, you know, over the years.
you may have, yeah.
So.
There's a separate drum set teacher here. I don't teach drum set here very often. I probably should, but I just do the classical here. Then they have a guy by the name of Ian Goodman, and the jazz department kind of does their own thing. And I always encourage, and a lot of my students do play in jazz groups, a combo or a big band or something like that, because it's a good experience. You keep playing and just get so that certainly is an opportunity. And if anybody wants to take some lessons from him, he's a good friend. I say, by all means, you know, you want to study with as many people as you can. And so I'm a big believer in that. So we'll do that. Zach, what can I help you with?